You keep hearing about Claude Code Skills. Maybe you have even made one, followed along with a video, watched it run, and thought, neat. But if you're honest, you do not actually get what just happened. How did Claude know which file to grab? You did not press a button, you just typed a sentence, and somehow it reached for exactly the right one and did the job. That fuzzy, not quite understanding feeling is the thing that quietly stops you. It is hard to trust a machine you cannot see inside of, and it is even harder to go further with it. So today, I am going to open the hood. By the end, you will see the whole machine clearly with no code anywhere. And here is the thing to listen for. There is one tiny line inside these files doing almost all the work, and nearly everyone reads right past it. By the end, you will know exactly which line it is and why getting it wrong is the reason a skill sometimes just never shows up. Now, you would think there is some hidden brain in there magically knowing which skill to run, like sorcery you are not allowed to see. There is not. What is actually happening is a lot calmer, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Let us start by opening one of these files and looking at what is actually inside. Here is a real skill, and honestly, it is a little anticlimactic in a good way. It is a plain text file and it has three parts. There is a name at the top, there is one line called the description, and then there is a handful of steps written in plain English, the way you would jot down how to do a job. That is it. No code, no secret syntax. Quick hello before we go deeper, because there is a whole room of people learning to read this exact machine with me. I run a group called Agent Skills Academy, and there are 550 odd folks in there pulling these files apart and finally getting how they tick. Your first 7 days are free. The link's in the description. Come look under the hood with us. Now I want to give you one picture to hold for the whole video. Think of an old telephone switchboard, the kind with an operator sitting in front of a wall of sockets. A call comes in, and next to every socket there is a little paper label saying what that line is for. The operator reads the labels, finds the one that matches the call, and plugs it through. Hold on to that because Claude is the operator, and each one of these skills is a labeled line on the board. Now, remember that line I told you to listen for? This is it. Of those three parts, the name, the description, and the steps, there is one doing most of the heavy lifting, and it is the one almost everyone skims past. It is the description. It is a single sentence and it does two jobs at once. It says what the skill does, and the part that matters, it says when to reach for it. That little when to use it is the whole trigger. Anthropic, the company that makes Claude, puts it about as plainly as you can. They say the description should include both what the skill does and when Claude should use it. Go back to the switchboard. The description is not the wiring inside the line. It is the paper label stuck next to the socket. It is the thing the operator actually reads to decide whether to plug you through. So a good description reads like a label, not a title. Not just newsletter skill, but something like write a customer newsletter, use this when I ask for a newsletter or an email to my list. Get that label clear and sharp, and you have basically solved the thing that confuses people for a month. So here is the first real piece of the machine, and it answers a question you might not have known to ask. When does Claude even find out your skills exist? The answer is the moment a session starts. Right at the beginning, Claude does a quick pass and reads the name and the description of every skill you have got switched on. Just those two lines each. Not the steps, not the contents, just the labels. Simon Willison, who is one of the sharpest people writing about this stuff, described it perfectly. He said that at the start of a session, Claude can scan all available skill files and read a short explanation for each one. A short explanation. The label, nothing more. And this is where it gets genuinely clever, because it answers the thing that secretly worries beginners. If you have got 20 skills or 50, will not that overwhelm it? No. The operator does not pick up every handset and listen to every line at once. That would be chaos. He just reads the little labels. So you can have a whole wall of lines, a folder packed with skills, and at rest, Claude is only holding the labels in its head. The actual contents of any one skill stay shut until they are needed. This has a proper name, by the way, and it is the one bit of jargon worth knowing. It is called progressive disclosure. It just means the machine shows itself to Claude a little at a time, only as much as the moment calls for. Labels first, everything else later, and only if it is needed. Okay, this next part is the one you actually came for. This is the moment the magic happens, the bit that felt like sorcery, and I am going to show you it is not. You type a request in plain English, something like, write me the June newsletter for my coffee shop. You did not name a file, and you did not type a command or press anything. Now watch what Claude does with that. It runs its eyes down the labels, the descriptions of all your switched on skills. It is looking for the one whose label says, use this when someone asks for a newsletter, and it finds the match. And only now, having picked that one line, does it actually open up that skill and read the full steps inside. It connects the call, then it picks up the handset. That is the whole trick. Your plain words come in, Claude matches them against the labels, plugs in the line that fits, and follows the steps written on it. There is no hidden button you forgot to press. The matching is the mechanism. And here is the part that proves it is real, not a fixed trick. Let me ask for something completely different. Now I say, turn that into a short announcement post. Same folder, same operator, and watch. It reaches for a totally different line this time, the announcement skill, because that is the label that matches this call. It did not run the same skill out of habit. It read the request, read the labels, and connected the one that fit. So that fuzzy feeling from the start of the video, how did it know which one? Now you know. It read the labels and connected the matching line. The description is the label, and the label is how it picks. So now you understand how it picks one line. But the thing everyone's really impressed by is when a folder does a whole job, several steps, back to back from one sentence. That is not a different kind of magic. It is the same operator doing the same thing just twice in a row. Here is how it works. You give one instruction that is really a few jobs in a trench coat. Write the newsletter, then write the announcement that tells people it is out. Claude connects the first line, the newsletter skill, and runs it. It produces a finished newsletter and saves it. Then, here is the handoff. It looks back at the labels for the next step, finds the announcement line, and plugs that in. But it does not start from scratch. It feeds the newsletter it just made straight into that second skill as the starting material. The output of the first becomes the input of the second. On the switchboard, that is the operator patching one call straight through into the next line, so the conversation just continues down the chain. Anthropic's own word for this is composing. We call it skill chaining, but it is the exact same thing, and it is the engine under every watch this folder run my whole morning video you have ever seen. There is no magic conductor in there, just an operator reading labels and patching one finished line into the next. Quick one, because two questions probably popped up while I was talking. Where do these labeled lines actually live, and what is a plugin? They live in a folder on your computer, that is, the switchboard cabinet. Each skill is just a little folder of plain text inside it. One honest heads up, because it trips people up. The skills you set up in the Claude desktop app live in one place. The ones a developer keeps in their files live in another, and they do not automatically copy themselves between the two yet. It is not broken, it is just two different cabinets. And a plugin, that word you keep seeing, is simpler than it sounds. A plugin is just a bundle of skills with a name on the box. Take a few of your lines, group them together, give the box a name, and that is a plugin. The handy part is that Anthropic ships its own ready-made ones, free, whole sets of skills for common jobs that you just drop into your cabinet. In fact, the skill that writes a new skill file for you when you ask, that is one of theirs, and it is called Skill Creator. Now let me be straight with you about where this breaks. If a skill never seems to fire, if you ask for the thing and Claude just ignores the skill you built, 9 times out of 10, the description is fuzzy. The label is smudged. If your label is vague, like helps with documents, the operator cannot tell when it applies, so he passes it by. Tighten that one sentence. Say clearly what it does and exactly when to use it, and the same skill that was invisible suddenly fires every time. Two more honest ones quickly. Claude picks the right line from your plain words, but it does not make the judgment calls for you. It drafts the newsletter, you still read it and decide it is good before it goes anywhere. The operator connects the call, but you are the one who decides what gets said. And the whole switchboard runs while your laptop is awake on a paid plan. It is not humming away in some data center while you sleep. None of that is a weakness. It is just the honest shape of the thing, and knowing it is what separates you from the people still treating it like a black box. So let us step back and look at the whole machine now that the hood is up. A skill is a plain text file with a name, a description, and steps. The description is the label and it says when to use the line. And here is what you can actually do now that you could not an hour ago. You can look at any skill, read its description out loud, and tell whether Claude would ever reach for it. You can fix the one that never fires because you know the label's the problem. You can read the machine. So here is a tiny thing to try today. Pull up any skill you have seen, even one from a video, and just read its description like it is a label on a switchboard. Ask yourself, when would the operator plug this in? If you can answer that, you genuinely understand how the whole system works. If you want to get really good at reading and building this machine, that is what we do inside Agent Skills Academy. It is a room of people taking the same hood off at the same time as you. Comment the word machine and I will point you to the group, and your first 7 days are free. The link's in the description and pinned in the comments. One last thing before you go. You just saw exactly how the machine works under the hood. The obvious next question is, okay, so what can I actually build with it? I made a full walkthrough where I built a real one-person business out of these skills. Start to finish, no code. That is the perfect one to watch next. That is the whole machine. A name, a label, some steps, and an operator reading the labels to connect the right line. No sorcery. Go read one for yourself.